Entitled mom threatens me over literally nothing. For a bit of a backstory before we start, I walk to my local grocery store almost every day. It's not very far from my house. So I'm used to walking around 5 miles or more every day, 5 miles round trip. I have never run into a Karen at this store until this happened just a week ago. I was at the store picking up a few things because my mom wanted to make tacos but was too busy with work to stop at the store. So she sent me out to get what we needed. I went to grab the last item on my list, long grain white rice. When I noticed that there is only one bag of it left on the shelf, I was in luck because I was getting the last bag of long grain white rice that the store had in stock. But all of a sudden, our entitled mom walks up with her son, who looked to be about a year or two younger than me. Entitled mom: "Excuse me, can you please give me that bag of rice?" "No, I need it so my mom and I can make tacos." Good kid. "Mom, we can just go to another store if we have to, it's just a bag of..." His mom cuts him off. "Listen up, you little crap! If you don't give me that bag of rice, I'll pierce you and leave your body out in the back." She tries to grab it from my hands, but when I wouldn't budge, she shouted, "Help! This boy is raping me!" I stood there terrified because this kind of thing has never happened to me before and I didn't know what to do, but luckily, one of the nearby employees who I talked to regularly heard the whole thing and knew she was lying. Store employee: "Hey, what's going on here, OP?" Me: This boy's trying to rape me, and when I wouldn't let him, he tried to punch me in the face. You need to call the police and have him arrested." Suddenly, I realized what was going on and remembered all the stories I read on here about entitled parents using crap like this as a defense tactic. Reddit is gonna save you. Good kid. "No, that's not what happened at all. Call the police because my mom is the one who literally threatened this guy's life over a bag of rice." Just then, good dad walks up and asks what's going on. I try to explain, but entitled mom keeps cutting me off and telling him that he should kill me and that I am the one who tried to hit her and good kid. The store employee decides to call the police, and when they show up, entitled mom tries to grab one of their pairs of handcuffs to use on me, but these two officers were much bigger than her and they had to handcuff her to be able to get through the door. Entitled mom kept screaming profanities at us, and here's what happened when they walked up. Police officer 1: "What seems to be the problem?" Store employee: "This woman," points to entitled mom, "threatened OP and tried to assault him. Not to mention that she was screaming at the top of her lungs, which I'm sure probably disrupted a lot of customers and staff members." Police officer 2 looks at entitled mom, and judging from the way he looked at her, I think he had a run-in with her before this incident. Police officer 1: "Could we see the security footage, please? Just wanna confirm that she started crap, not OP." Store employee: "Sure, of course." Store employee takes the two officers to review the security footage, and good kid and good dad look like this isn't the first time this has happened. Good dad: "You know, OP, this is the last time I'm putting up with entitled mom's bullcrap." He then tells me that they are in the middle of a divorce, and he's getting custody of good kid, which I suppose is a good thing considering entitled mom is a monster. A few minutes later, the police officers and store employee come back. Police officer 1 walks over to entitled mom and says, "Ma'am, this is not the first time you've acted out in this store. You are under arrest for threatening death upon a minor, attempted theft, assaulting a minor, damage of store property, and disturbing the peace." Entitled mom looks defeated and goes peacefully. This was a terrible experience, but at least I know how to deal with entitled parents now. Entitled parents hurt their own kid when they think the emergency room is taking too long. I work as a hospital security guard and this happened on Mother's Day. We get called for all sorts of reasons, but a lot of times it boils down to someone getting too loud or ready to fight, and security is called to be there if things get worse. Just seeing a guard can sometimes snap someone out of it and get them to cooperate, but not always. So my fellow guard and I get called on our radios to come to the emergency room. And when we arrive, we don't even need to ask where we're needed because we can hear a child screaming and both parents yelling very loudly at the nurses and doctors who are trying to explain that they've called the technician they need to help figure out what's wrong. But because of how busy the morning is and the fact that the department the technician works in has a smaller staff on weekends, it's taking a little longer. The parents aren't even letting them finish sentences. First thing we do is assess the situation. Patient is a child, maybe 3 years old, with an IV line in his arm. The trouble we were called for are the parents, who are demanding to leave if their child isn't treated immediately. Now, for both safety and legal reasons, we cannot let a patient leave with an IV line in, and the staff is trying to explain that. It takes a few minutes to get that short sentence through all the verbal abuse the parents are hurling at anyone in sight. But finally they demand to leave, and the now fed up doctor tells a nurse to get the IV line out and let them go. The nurse goes in the room to do just that, and the entitled dad slams the door closed with just them and the nurse inside. Big no-no. My partner opens the door back up and starts saying we can't have the door closed with the nurse in there when the dad tries to slam the door again, even harder this time. I basically turn myself into a doorstop to keep it open. At this point, the nurse has gotten the IV line out and is about to put the bandage over the bleeding hole in the kid's arm. But entitled mom, who's been holding the kid the whole time, stands up and shoves her way past everyone with dad right behind her. We escort the family out of the building, while they yell at the people in the waiting room that we are a terrible hospital and we refuse to treat their kid because he's autistic. No idea where that came from. They don't leave right away though. They call 911 from the parking lot, waiting an ambulance to take their kid to another hospital. I guess the dispatcher who took the call figures something might be up, because a police car shows up first. The police officer comes to speak with us and the rest of the staff first. We calmly explain what happened, and at this point the mom finally notices her kid's bleeding arm and starts wailing, "What did you do to my baby?" When the officer goes over to talk to her, she starts screaming at him and throws a dirty diaper on the ground in front of him. He made her clean it up and throw it away in a proper trash can. The officer kept talking to them while we all waited for the ambulance, and while I was too far away to hear, I could see them. The mom was stomping her feet and clenching her hands into fists at her sides like a little kid having a tantrum. I swear she even jumped up and down while screaming at one point. In the end, the kid and mom leave in the ambulance. The dad follows in their car. The head nurse told us to have the car towed if they left it, so they locked out there. I hope the kid got whatever tests done he needed and is feeling better. But I know any hospital they went from us was going to have an even longer wait and go through the exact same thing, so I suspect even more nurses and security guards had headaches that morning. Entitled mom gets scorned by foreign doctors for ignoring his advice. So, entitled mom got a studio apartment at the top of the town, and of course she has to tell everyone about it. Anyway, she's been hotel hopping this week, as this studio apartment has got nothing, so she brings her kids, who surprisingly aren't entitled, down to local hotels to use their pools and other facilities. She then proceeds to force conversation with other families about how big her studio apartment is and how much they paid for it, etc. Standard entitled stuff. The husband just seems to be there for the ride and just switch off when she starts. While doing lengths today, I noticed that she'd captured another poor family, but instead of talking about how great everything, she had playing the victim about how the local doctor had scorned her. Intrigued, I sat just out of range so she couldn't rope me in, but I could hear her. One of her sons had gotten tonsillitis just before they came on holiday and had been given a course of antibiotics, but after the first day he was complaining of ear pain and they took him to the doctors. Poor lad's got an ear infection and was advised to steer clear of water and it'll clear up just fine. Of course, entitled mom completely ignores this advice because entitled mom knows the best. Of course, she proceeded to drag the lad along on multiple boat trips, and the lad was swimming everywhere as they'd just given him painkillers and he knew no different. Then the painkillers ran out. Poor lad was in agony from all the swimming, but entitled mom, still knowing the best, wouldn't take him back to doctors and left it 2 days. The kid's in agonizing pain. I've had multiple ear infections. Without serious painkillers, you're in near screaming pain sometimes. After not sleeping for 2 days, Entitled Mom was saying he was getting angry and was starting to shout at them all the time. And to be honest, can you blame him? You'd be angry if you'd been in pain for 2 days, not slept. And your mom won't take you to the doctors because she doesn't want to get told off. But that's not her fault. Anyway, she relented, took him in, and got the scorning she deserved, in my opinion. But in her eyes, she was the victim. Doctor examined his ears, and because I'm no doctor, I'll just say the bit I understood. If he goes on the plane home, his eardrum will most likely explode. Yup, the infection had got that bad. She then whined about how he was annoyed, she'd ignore his orders, and now the infection was much worse. But then she argued that they were on holidays. What were they supposed to do? Not swim? The doctor of course said yes, he could swim from around Wednesday onwards if she'd kept him out of the water. They got here last Saturday and are here till this Wednesday, and now he shouldn't really be flying until next Saturday, at least 3 days after her return flight. She shouted at the doctor about how they are here till Wednesday and can't possibly wait that long before dragging her son out. And this is the best part. Before she left, she says the doctor said, "Well, you're on a holiday island, there's plenty of accommodation, but as you seem to ignore my orders, he's got 2 eardrums, so if one explodes, he's still got another." I had to swim away to stop myself laughing at that, but as I did, she laid on the usual, "I've never been so offended," and "how unprofessional of him," but I think it was perfect timing and well deserved. They are flying home on Wednesday, because of course, Entitled Mom knows best. That's extremely horrible. Video on your screen has 2 stories. "If you try to see your daughter again, I'll put you in prison for rape." And "Kid who broke my $2,000 monitor," where Karen beats her child daily and covers bruises and wounds with makeup, is getting justice. Also consider subscribing if you wanna help me grow the channel.